Did you know that there are skills you can teach your child before beginning a reading program that will set them up to be more successful than the other students? I'm going to tell you about them right now. What's up, guys? My name is Akiba. I am a certified teacher turned homeschool mom. Welcome to another video. If it's your first time here and you're interested in maximizing your child's potential and also letting them have a fun and happy relationship with education, start now by subscribing and clicking the little bell notification so you don't miss a thing. Today, we're going to talk about pre-reading skills. These are the skills that every child needs before they begin a reading program. Certainly at any age, but definitely before they begin to learn how to actually read, that's going to set them up for success. These skills will make it a lot easier for you to teach a child how to read and make the process a lot faster as well. This is also applicable for children who are in the maybe third or fifth or even in middle school who are having problems struggling with reading. I often find as a teacher, if a child is struggling with reading, there are these pre-reading skills that have not been taught or honed in on yet. So let's start talking about them right now. Now, I want to think about something interesting here just to hone it in, because I know a lot of you are still like, I don't care, I'm teaching my 1.5-year-old how to read. In Finland, which is based off of the United States system, may I tell you, in Finland, the children begin their reading programs at about 7 years old. That's when they enter kindergarten and they start formal reading programs. In the United States, we like to push our kids as early as possible, pre-K, 5 years old, 3 years old, to teach our kids how to read. And guess what? Here, let's start with here. Here in the United States, it takes about 2.5 years to teach a child how to read. In Finland, it takes about 3 months. Okay, so decide for yourself. Do you want to struggle for 2.5 years because you have not taught these pre-reading skills? Or do you want to take your time, teach the pre-reading skills, and then when they're ready to learn how to read, get started, get it done in 3 months? Let's master these skills. The first skill is that a child needs to love books and love learning. It seems obvious to me, but this is a step that a lot of people skip. They're teaching children who don't like to read, who have no interest in books whatsoever, and it makes it just such a struggle. Take your time. Let your child learn to love books first. Read to them first. For a baby, this can be signs like putting the book in their mouth, throwing it around. They're interested. For a 3 or 4-year-old, this can be a child brings the books to you and asks you to read. For an older child, it might mean they know how to go to the library and choose out books that interest them. That's how you know that a child loves books and is ready to begin a program. The next thing, read 1,000 books. The child should have had 1,000 books read to them, or if they're older, should have read more than 1,000 books. Now, what does this do? What is the point of it? Why do you possibly keep hearing it everywhere? This develops a child's vocabulary. Young children should be learning about 9 new words a day. And that's really, really hard to do once you get into the routine of everyday life, because you as a parent are constantly just saying the same things over and over again. However, when you pick up a book, they're going to learn, oh, another word for glasses is spectacles. Like, when would you ever use the word spectacles? You probably wouldn't. They're probably going to have to get that vocabulary word from a book. And so this is why we want the children reading 1,000 books. Another thing this does is it kind of helps with the other reading skills. And you're going to see as we go on that by reading 1,000 books, your child will probably pick up these skills naturally. And if not, you need to teach them explicitly. Now, you might say, how in the world do I have time to read 1,000 books to my child? Well, if you're starting from when your child is 0 all the way up to 5, the new term is kind of like 1,000 books before kindergarten. If you're starting at 0 and you go all the way to 5, you read your child a book a day or less than a book a day, bam, you're at 1,000 books in under 3 years. If your child is maybe 3 or 4 years old and you're considering starting a reading program, why don't you stop? Think about it. Have you read 1,000 books to them yet? If not, why don't you take the next 365 days and read 2 books to them a day to get them caught up? Believe me, if you do this, when you start the formal reading process, it's going to be so much easier. And I will tell you, as a teacher and knowing kindergarten teachers, we can tell the students who have been read to every single day and the students who have not. The next thing that a child is going to need is basic writing skills. Remember, I said it in my other video. Reading and writing go along hand to hand. When you're teaching sounds, you also need to be teaching how to write the sounds. You won't be able to do that if the child doesn't have pre-writing skills. So here are the symbols or the signs that children need to be able to write. They need to be able to draw a circle, a line, a dot, and make squiggly lines. So those 4 things, and you can easily practice those. And if you think about it, those are the only things that children need to write the English alphabet. What is an H? Line, line, line. What is a G? Circle, line, squiggly. What is an M? Well, they're 2 humps, but it's just another type of squiggly. So make sure your child has that before beginning a reading program. The next thing that they need is called print awareness. Now, that's the general awareness of how we print and how we write things in English. So, for example, that can be, this is the front cover of the book. You hold the book like this, not like this. Don't laugh, because if we don't have a clear picture on this cover, a lot of kindergartners come in and they're reading books upside down. So that's something that you really do need to explicitly teach a child, how to recognize the letters right side up. They also need to know things like we read in English from left to right, from top to bottom. So that's general print awareness. The next skill that they have to have is to be able to ask and answer questions about the text or about oral language, and be able to tell and retell a story. So when you're driving in the car, telling your child, hey, what happened last week when you were at Nana's? Tell me about it. Or remember we went to the grocery store? What happened there? Reading comprehension goes right along with the actual skill of being able to read. And so this is something that sometimes we don't focus on until a child gets to 3rd grade. Pre-K through 2nd grade, teachers focus on teaching a child how to read. By the time we get them in elementary school, there's a shift in 3rd grade from learning how to read to comprehending what you're reading. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be starting reading comprehension before a child learns how to read. And that starts with listening comprehension, because then they get to the 3rd grade and it's a real struggle to teach them how to understand what they just read. So give your child a boost by asking them now comprehension questions about the text. The next thing is this kind of big umbrella of phonological awareness. And there's something more specific in here that we need to talk about. But basically, phonological awareness consists of 3 things. 1, noticing that there are words in a sentence. Okay, so these spaces have meaning, and they mean that every time there's a space, that's a different word. Next, they need to notice the syllables of a word. So have you heard this song that goes like this? It's a little rhyme. Pepperoni, pizza, pizza, pie. Get down with your child and ask them to clap those syllables out with you and see if they can do it. Pepperoni, pizza, pizza, pie. Right? There's so many syllables in that sentence and so many syllables in the word pepperoni. But a lot of toddlers will just go like this, and young children. Pepperoni, pizza, pizza, pie. They're not hearing that there are different syllables. And of course that makes sense. They're just learning the English language. So they need to know that there are syllables in different words. And you can do this by playing games with them, singing those childhood songs that you know, those childhood poems. Those are really easy ways to let them notice those syllables in words. And the final thing is phonemic awareness. And this is perhaps the most important aspect. And this is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate sounds in a word. So imagine the word cat. The sounds in that word are k, at, cat. Or the word sun, sun, sun. There are 3 different sounds in that word. So a child should be able to identify those sounds and then manipulate them. Now, this is all before reading. So these are things that you're telling a child orally. Say the word sun. Good. Take out that sound s and change it with f. What does that become? Fun. Perfect. Take the word cat. Take out the k and replace it with b. What does it become? Bat. Try it with your child. It's going to be pretty difficult at first. Same thing with the ending sounds. Take the word like. Instead of using the ending sound k, change it to f. What do you have? Life. Good. So now you're starting to equip students with the thinking and the thoughts, the patterns that they need to understand and recognize to be able to read a lot easier. Here's another thing with this. A lot of kids, especially if you don't enunciate your words, and we don't. When we're talking in everyday English, we're talking so fast and we're kind of using not really slang, but we're just kind of talking so fast that we're leaving the endings and sometimes the beginning off of words. And children, they learn English based on how we speak. So if we speak informally, which we do, they're going to learn it informally. A lot of kids will say this, "Mommy, can I hold your hand?" It's hands. "Mommy, could I hold your hand?" or hands, right? So they don't understand that there's a d sound on the end of that word, not because they're not smart, but because they just don't know. They've never seen the word written down. Hand. And so that becomes difficult when they start to read and they're sounding out the word hand and they see a picture of a hand and they can say the H-A-N, but they're like, why is there this d sound at the end? Oh, the word is hand. So making sure that we are getting our kids to pay attention to the beginnings and the endings of words is something we need to do before teaching them how to read. Now here's a plug for me. Check out my Instagram page if you haven't, guys. I have a lot of short little videos on there, video clips of me teaching my kids how to read, how to do math, how to do other things like that. So make sure you check me out on IG at Akiba Mays. Thank you so much for watching this video. So I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. Come on over to IG and let me know. Did you teach your child these skills yet? Is this something you've even thought about? Do you need to go back and maybe reteach some of these things? I can't wait to hear from you guys and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Bye-bye.